Karen Pemberton stood in her designer heels at the edge of the Hendersons' backyard pool, her perfectly manicured finger trembling as she pointed at the sparkling blue water. "This is a Code 47B violation," she shrieked, her voice cracking with fury. "The pool depth exceeds regulation parameters by 3 inches. She clutched her leather-bound HOA manual against her chest like armor, her knuckles white with the force of her grip. Behind her, 2 maintenance workers shuffled nervously, unsure whether to follow through with her increasingly erratic demands. The afternoon sun beat down mercilessly, but Karen's face was already flushed red with something far more intense than heat. "Ma'am," ventured the younger worker, "are you sure we should be? Don't question my authority." Karen whirled around, her bob haircut whipping dramatically. "I am the elected president of Willowbrook Estates Homeowners Association, and I will not tolerate flagrant disregard for community standards." What Karen didn't notice was Mrs. Henderson's teenage daughter filming from the kitchen window, her phone already live-streaming to TikTok as hundreds of viewers began flooding the comments with shocked reactions. Karen had spent 3 sleepless nights obsessing over the Henderson pool situation. It started when she'd noticed their pool looked slightly deeper than others during her weekly compliance walks through the neighborhood. Armed with a measuring tape and righteous indignation, she'd discovered the 3-inch discrepancy that would become her obsession. "Begin draining procedures immediately," she commanded, her voice taking on an almost manic quality. "Every drop of excess water represents a violation of our sacred community covenant." The workers exchanged worried glances. "Ma'am, this is someone's private property. We really should." "Private." Karen's laugh bordered on hysterical. "Nothing is private when it threatens property values. Do you understand what happens when one family thinks they're above the rules? Chaos. Complete and utter neighborhood chaos." Her hands shook as she fumbled with her phone, speed dialing her assistant. "Jennifer, cancel my afternoon appointments. We have a situation that requires my immediate and total attention." "Yes, it's the Henderson pool." "No, I will not calm down." As the maintenance crew reluctantly began connecting the drainage equipment, Karen paced frantically around the pool's perimeter, muttering calculations under her breath. 3 inches times 1,200 square feet. That's 300 cubic feet of unauthorized water, absolutely unacceptable. The younger worker's phone buzzed. His eyes widened as he saw the TikTok notification. Boss, we might have a problem. There's already 50,000 people watching this live." Karen froze mid-stride, her face cycling through confusion, realization, then pure rage. Watching what exactly? But even as she asked, she could see the teenager in the window, phone held high, grinning with the satisfaction of viral content gold. Karen's carefully constructed world of control was about to crumble, one social media view at a time. The TikTok live stream hit 200,000 viewers as Karen's meltdown reached epic proportions. "Turn off that camera," she screamed, charging toward the Henderson house like a woman possessed. Her heels clicking frantically on the concrete, she stumbled and nearly fell into the very pool she was trying to drain. "Ma'am, you're trespassing," called Mr. Henderson from his back door, his voice steady, but his phone also recording. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave my property." "Toespasing." Karen's voice hit a pitch that made dogs howl 3 streets over. "I am protesting this neighborhood from your violations." Mascara streaked down her cheeks as she jabbed her finger toward the pool. "Do you see this chaos? Do you see what happens when people think rules don't apply to them?" The maintenance workers had stopped pretending to work and were now openly filming themselves. This was better than reality TV, and they knew it. Karen's phone rang incessantly. Reporters, angry neighbors, her horrified husband. She declined call after call, her focus laser-sharp on what she saw as the crime of the century. "This pool," she announced to her growing audience of both online viewers and gathering neighbors, "represents everything wrong with modern society." Mrs. Chen from next door approached cautiously. "Karen, honey, Maybe we should talk about this privately. Privately. Karen spun around, her eyes wild. There is no privacy in a community. We are all responsible for maintaining standards. She grabbed her measuring tape and held it up like a sword. 3 inches. 3 inches. That's not a mistake. That's a deliberate assault on our way of life. The comments on the live stream were flooding in faster than anyone could read them. Karen has completely lost it, and someone call Adult Protective Services mixed with, "This is the best content I've ever seen." Karen noticed the crowd gathering and saw it as validation rather than concern. "You all see it, don't you?" She addressed her neighbors with the fervor of a street preacher. "The Hendersons think they're special. They think they can have 3 extra inches while the rest of us follow the rules." Young Tommy Rodriguez whispered to his mom, "Is that lady okay?" "That lady," Karen overheard, "is trying to preserve civilization." She turned to Tommy with frightening intensity. "Someday, young man, you'll understand that rules aren't suggestions. They're the fabric that holds society together." Her phone buzzed with a text from her husband. "Karen, you're trending on Twitter. Come home now." She stared at the message, something flickering across her face. Doubt? Fear? But then she looked back at the pool and her resolve hardened. "No," she muttered, then louder, "No, I will not be deterred by social media mockery. This is about principle." The live view account hit 500,000 as Karen made her most dramatic declaration yet. "If the Hendersons won't voluntarily comply, then I'll make them understand the consequences of their actions." She marched toward her car, leaving everyone wondering what catastrophic plan was forming in her increasingly unstable mind. At 6 p.m., Karen returned with a rental truck, a portable pump, and 3 equally confused contractors she'd hired for emergency water removal services. The TikTok stream had been picked up by news outlets, and actual TV crews were now parked across the street. "This ends tonight," Karen announced to the cameras, her hair disheveled, her blazer stained with sweat and determination. "The Henderson pool crisis stops here." But as she directed the contractors to begin pumping water from the pool into her rental truck, her phone rang with a call she couldn't ignore. "Pemberton, this is City Attorney Morrison. You have exactly 5 minutes to cease and desist, or you'll be arrested for destruction of property." Karen stared at the phone, then at the growing crowd, then at the pool that had consumed her entire existence for the past week. Something in her expression shifted, not defeat, but a dawning realization of how far she'd fallen. "But the rules," she whispered, then louder. "The rules matter." Officer Martinez arrived just as Karen made her final desperate play. Instead of backing down, she grabbed the pool pump's hose and aimed it directly at the news cameras. "You want a story?" she screamed, water spraying everywhere. "Here's your story. This is what happens when society abandons standards." The crowd scattered, but the cameras kept rolling as Karen stood in the spray of pool water, mascara completely gone, blazer soaked, holding the hose like some deranged garden gladiator. It was Mrs. Henderson who finally approached her. "Karen," she said gently, "the pool was never 3 inches too deep. Your measuring tape is broken." Karen froze. The hose slipped from her hands. She looked down at the measuring tape she'd been carrying like a holy relic, and for the first time really examined it. The metal end was bent, making every measurement 3 inches off. The silence stretched for an eternal moment. 500,000 people watched online as Karen Pemberton, terror of Willowbrook Estates, crumpled. Not physically, but something inside her simply broke. "Oh God," she whispered, "what have I done?" But even as she stood there, drenched and defeated, her phone buzzed with a notification that would change everything again. Bree King. City Council emergency meeting called to address HOA overreach. Pemberton case cited as primary example. Karen looked up at the cameras, at her neighbors, at the pool that had destroyed her life over 3 imaginary inches. A strange smile crossed her face, not of victory or defeat, but of someone who had just realized the game was far from over. "Well," she said, wringing water from her blazer, "I guess we're all about to learn what real consequences look like." The live stream ended, But the story was just beginning.